I see a repeat, same place. Huh? Isn't that exciting? The same place. Because it says he's going to bring them, he's going to lure them and bring them into the wilderness. So I'm seeing, there you go, that's got to be Sinai all over again. The gathering.
Well, I mean, here he's leading them into the wilderness. And so that he says, therefore, see, I'm alluring her and shall lead her into the wilderness and shall speak to her heart. And so this is not speaking of that wilderness here. He said, look, this is the wilderness where they were being, for 40 years, learning to open their heart to him. So this wilderness in verse 14 then says, and look, I'm going to give her vineyards there and from the valley, etc. He says, I'm going to teach them while they're in that wilderness by speaking to her heart, so that while she's in the wilderness walk, that by the time she's done with the wilderness walk, she'll be ready to come back to the land. The wilderness is the preparation to go into the land. Remember, they were kept in that wilderness to prepare them to cross the Jordan. So the wilderness is part of that whole process of opening the heart. So I believe it's from Sinai to the Jordan that mostly we're talking about the wilderness, is that in-between place. The Sinai part is the part where, well, they should already know. That's the instruction. But they weren't accepting the instruction. They were rebelling against the instruction. So the wilderness was a place to learn to trust the instruction. And so he said, look, I'm going to put you back in that wilderness, and you didn't like it last time. You're not going to like it this time, but it's what worked to get your attention to prepare you to go into the land. And so thank you for bringing it up, because that's really, but I see it just a little bit differently, but I understand what we're talking about. But it is very exciting because it's where he will speak to our heart. And that's the key. In case you're sitting there going, why do I have to be here and all of this? Because this is where he chose to speak to your heart.
So since we aren't to refer to Yahweh as our master, but our husband, is it wrong to use Adonai, which means our master?
Okay, now Adonai is not Baali. It's a totally different thing. By the way, I appreciate that Anna's with a group called Growing in Torah right now. She's over there working on the farms and stuff, learning about Yahweh through farming and stuff. There's a group in California. I wonder if, Anna, could you type in, do you have anybody else watching with you? Do you have how many people do you have watching with you? But let me answer your question. The thing is that there are different words that are translated in English very similarly, and we understand that that's very important to get the right context. Like you can have the word love come from 3 different types of love. We could have all kinds of words for different things. Last time we saw different words for integrity or in perfection and completeness. Okay, because we have tamim and we have shalem and we had milei achrei. We had different ways of understanding these things. Okay, so here we have the idea of master. Adonai is master in a respectful way. Okay, this is giving honor, like children were taught to say sir and ma'am, which they're not really taught much anymore, but they used to be. So saying Adonai is not the same as saying Baali. Baali is more of a slave to an owner. It's not a very endearing term. See, but remember, we were told that it was not a problem for Sarah to refer to Avram as master. Okay? And so that's a different type of master referring to. Okay, so we're trying to get away from the idea of looking at him as Baali. Looking at him as Adonai is not the problem. And of course, our Jewish community, rather than say Yahweh, they will say Adonai. And Adonai is a very respectful way of saying the way we would say Lord and Master. In other words, the one who has full authority over us, and we fully respect that you should and are qualified and deserve to be master over us. That's the kind of respectful way that Adonai comes across. And by the way, Adonai is used in Scripture, and he is referred to that way, and so it's not wrong to use Adonai. Understand that, again, the sacred name group was, will throw fits over this, but, referring to him as master is not a problem. I mean, you hear me referring to him as creator. I don't use the name all that much. You know why? Because I have a lot of respect for his name, and I don't want to just bandy it about. And so I'll read it when it's in the Scripture. I will use it occasionally when I'm speaking. I don't think there's anything wrong with using it more. I just think that we take it for granted and just maybe overuse it. Okay? And so we might want to consider, those things. So you may wonder sometimes when you hear me talking to him as Almighty or Creator and other things, which, by the way, he refers to himself that way very often in Scripture. All right? And so he says, wasn't I known as El Shaddai or the Almighty One? Wasn't I known as, and he has different titles for himself. Amen?
In Hosea 2:16, it talks of husband and master. Is the situation with Mary, Martha, and Yeshua an example of this recognition of master versus husband? Mary was seeing who Yeshua was as husband, whereas Martha was seeing him as master.
That could play out. I mean, I hadn't really ever thought about it that way, but that could be. I mean, we're trying to understand Martha's motivation, okay, to be acting in a different way than Mary did because she saw Yeshua there and she was busy working and not appreciating the opportunity to build the intimacy in the relationship. Yeah, that could work. That could be a possibility. Anybody else? All right, let's go ahead and get the children. We're going to go ahead and close there. And next time when we get together with this teaching, which will be when we get back, we'll be continuing with looking at the prophecies of the regathering. Okay, we're going to have a little bit more of the scattering here. We'll deal with Isaiah and Jeremiah, and then we'll get into Ezekiel and Isaiah talking about the regathering.